Hello, welcome to AFL Tonight. I'm Drew Jones. These are our top stories. The football world mourns one of its most famous and loved voices. We pay tribute to Dennis Cometti. A new chair takes charge at the AFL, but what does it mean for a potential night grand final? And on the eve of opening rounds, a message from the Swans coach ahead of Charlie's grudge match against the Blues. Nice to have you with us on a sombre Wednesday edition of AFL Tonight. Very sad news in the football world today. Australian broadcasting icon Dennis Cometti has died at the age of 76. Cometti had a career in media that spanned more than 5 decades. He was widely regarded as one of the finest callers of Australian rules, working on Channel 7, the ABC, Channel 9 and Triple M across his distinguished 51-year career. In 2020, Cometti was inducted into the Australian Football Hall of Fame. Outside of his media career, Cometti played 38 games for his beloved West Perth Falcons in the late 1960s and early 70s and spent some time on Footscray's playing lists. He won numerous awards during his broadcasting career and was given an Order of Australia in 2019. The last game he called was the 2021 AFL Grand Final for Triple M when Melbourne defeated the Western Bulldogs in Perth. Our condolences from AFL Tonight to the entire Cometti family and all of his loved ones, a true icon of the game. All right, the AFL's top brass is gathering... Okay, the AFL's top brass is gathering in Sydney ahead of the official season launch. Apologies, we are having some technical difficulties at the moment. Dennis Cometti passing away today, aged 76. All right, here we go. We're on track. The AFL's top brass is gathering in Sydney ahead of the official season launch. Steph Clarkson is there for us this evening. Steph, good to see you. A significant change today at AFL House. What can you tell us?
Good evening, Drew. Well, it's a big day for the AFL, an even bigger day at AFL House. Craig Drummond officially announced as AFL Chairman, taking over from Richard Goyder, who steps aside and retires after 9 years at the helm. Now, Drummond was the president of the Cats from 2021 to 2024. He was also the club's director for 9 years before that. Now, he said that they won't have any bias towards the Cats this season, instead wanting to build a really, really strong relationship with all clubs in the AFL. His main focus will be on the growth and engagement of fans, of the clubs and of the broadcast. Now, he's stressing there's going to be no arrogance when he's in this role. He's looking to grow and develop the game in the lower markets, so looking at the New South Wales, the Tasmanias, the Queenslands, but he's also not going to turn his back on the heartland of footy, which is Victoria. He said there's also still going to be a massive focus for him and the growth of the game and development down in Victoria. He's also highlighted that he wants to look at the Northern Academies and the AFL father-son rule. But the biggest talking point out of his interview today was the timing surrounding the AFL Grand Final in 2026. Now, we've had the traditional 2:30 time slot for as long as we can remember on that last Saturday in September. It's going to be really interesting to see in the next couple of weeks how this all unfolds. He said he's had the most meetings he's ever had in his life and he's on day one of his job. But he said that there is a massive push from broadcast and from the wider public to have that later time slot. So we're looking at maybe a twilight or an evening time slot. We heard Toby Green, the GWS captain, put his full support behind it. This is what Drummond had to say a little bit earlier.
I'd expect the executive will bring forward all the relevant data in terms of the fans' perspective, in terms of the football. Does it affect the football, the quality of the football? How do the fans think about it? How do some of our other stakeholders, and particularly our broadcasters, think about it? So I think all of those things I'd expect to see in a document that will come to the Commission, relatively shortly, and we'll have a conversation and make a decision. We always need to listen to what our fans have to say, and it's the same with any business. If you don't listen to your customers, then you're kidding yourself.
So, Drew, so interesting to see when this 2026 Grand Final is going to be played. We've got heaps of the AFL officials and coaches coming in here for the season launch at the Sydney Town Hall, where Chris Fagan is set to unveil the flag from the 2025 Premiers, who went back-to-back. They're searching to do the three-peat this year, and we'll see if it actually comes ahead.
All right, Steph, appreciate the update. Have a good night. Looks like it's going to be a ripper in Sydney. All right, so Sydney coach Dean Cox has called for comparisons between Charlie Curnow and Lance Franklin to stop ahead of the former Blues Swans debut. Sydney and Carlton will meet on Thursday night at the SCG to open the AFL season, and both sides have players with scores to settle.
The eyes of the AFL world turn to Sydney on Thursday night. Charlie Curnow's grudge match against Carlton to kick off the season. Swans coach Dean Cox not leaning into the hype.
Externally, we understand the narrative behind a lot of things, but I think from his perspective and also ours, he's just one of 23 tomorrow night that we want to and expect to play his role for the footy team.
Curnow's arrival at the Swans compared to that of Buddy Franklin over a decade ago. Cox warning not to take those comparisons too far.
I think without being disrespectful to Charlie, Lance sits in a league of his own, for me. I think he's one of the top 5 players ever to play the game. We understand what Charlie can do, but yeah, I draw maybe with the narrative around him playing the first game and the external noise is similar, but the way they play, they're different footballers.
Will Hayward and Ollie Florent found a new home at the Blues as part of the Curnow move, with the Swans ready to face their former teammates.
I've experienced having a premiership captain leave and playing him the following year. It happens in every football team. It's just opening round, it's happening. So there's a bit more eyes on it, but the players certainly understand what Will and Ollie can do. They're now Carlton footballers, so we'll deal with that accordingly.
Though some have criticised opening round, the Swans are all in, given what it means in the state.
The traction that the footy AFL has made in these northern markets is really important for the growth of the game. One thing I've always been is an advocate of trying to get as many young kids to play as possible. And as you can see, the schools come out, there's red and white everywhere, and it's just a great thing for the footy. We will shorten our pre-season to get the chance to play it.
The Carlton squad, only some of those who'll make the trip to Sydney to watch this year's season take flight. David Zeta, Fox Sports News.
All right, for the first time since 2013, Port Adelaide enters a season under a new coach. Josh Carr has taken charge at his former club. He inherits a group boasting top-end talent, but questions linger over one of the Power's biggest stars. I caught up with the new coach a little earlier.
Oh, look, so far so good. I guess, it's been a really good pre-season and one that I've really enjoyed as coach because, I've got some great people around me. But I guess the real stuff starts, from next week.
So your life has probably never been busier than it is right now. What are you doing to keep yourself balanced, helping you to enter each day with a clear head and feeling refreshed?
Yeah, look, it is busy. Obviously a different role that I've done in the past, but look, I like to think I've got good balance in life, like as far as in my work at footy, but also I've got 4 kids at home, so that keeps the family busy and keeps me occupied, when I'm not involved in football.
What's the one thing that surprised you so far in the role that you've taken over?
Yeah, look, I guess nothing's really surprised me. I understand the enormity of the role and what I'm in charge of, but also the help that I have. I think the club's done a great job with making sure we put a really good experienced team together, a team that's been around football for a long time. So really confident in the people that's in charge, but also the collective approach that we have.
All right, so plenty of good signs throughout the pre-season so far for Port Adelaide. What can you tell us about the new things that you've been able to implement ahead of this year?
I think it's been more about building that game from start to finish and making sure the players understand that there's more than one way to win a game of football, and whether that's the way we defend to the way we move the footy and making sure we're really strong in the contest. So it's been really enjoyable. It's been really enjoyable to sort of teach a playing group that's really open to growth and getting better and knowing that we're not a finished product. We've just got to keep building that every day.
What identity would you like the Port Adelaide Footy Club to be known by on the field?
Look, I think the identity that we have as a football club has always been there. We want to be a tough football club to play against. When teams come to Adelaide Oval, we want that to work for us as a footy club and make sure they understand who they're playing against. But at the same time, when we travel, we're going to be a hard team to play against. So that's probably the fundamentals of our identity and making sure that we bring that every week.
I think it's pretty clear from his performance against the Eagles, Zach Butters is locked and loaded for a really big season. How do you think he'll deal with some of the added spotlight that his contractual situation adds this season?
Oh, look, Zach's got he's got a way that he plays the game and he doesn't know any different. So, the distraction, like that doesn't go away. But I think his personality knows how to handle it. He's got all of our support as a football club. We put our arms around him and support him, and at the right time he'll make his own decision. What I do know is his commitment to us. In 2026, he's 100%, and he's a great leader of our footy club. He's obviously an outstanding player, and we know what he brings.
I know you've been asked a bit about Zach already this pre-season. I'll try to come at this from a slightly different angle. How much can you as a head coach lean on the relationship that you've been able to build with Zach over the years and help that he is at Port in the long term?
Oh, look, I think it's more about supporting him, but at the same time, it's about our football club and making sure we're, I guess, doing the best possible thing to create an environment that everyone wants to be here. Now, we understand that people will come and go. Look, we can't be ones to, try and bring people back home and then all of a sudden criticise players for leaving to go home. But at the same time, it is about creating an environment that it's a fun place to be. We love to win, and ultimately we want to strive to be successful and win premierships.
We know that Jason Horne-Francis has had a bit of rehab to do on his foot over the off-season. How cautious do you anticipate that you'll have to be with him in this early part of the season?
Yeah, look, it's more around his match fitness, and that was his first really game on the weekend. He played the first quarter against the Crows the week before, but obviously felt that had a little feeling in his foot which he was unsure about, which he understand, and he had the scans, and it just gave him some confidence to know what he's dealing with. He had a good game on the weekend. We'll obviously, keep him under control with, what the game time and the intensity looks like. But we feel like we can control that.
Looks like you took a fairly conservative route with Miles Bergman and his foot. How's he tracking for round one?
He'll play. He'll be okay. It was we just had to manage the foot and make sure it was okay, and a week off, worked wonders for him. And he's, he said to me on, I think it was Friday, that he wished he's playing because he felt he could have played. So, a week off this week with the bye and then get ready for round one, and he'll be ready to go.
Yeah, so you've got North Melbourne here in Melbourne in round one. I look at the Port Adelaide team on paper, and there's so much excitement about so many different players in your squad. How difficult do you think it'll be at the selection table as you try to lock down that first team sheet?
I think the great thing about what's happened over the last couple of weeks, that there is selection pressure and there's players performing, for our Magpies in the SNFL. They've had really good games. So it makes the selection challenging. It's a good position to be in, having a number of positions where there's, I guess, pressure from underneath, and we're getting that. So looking forward to selection. We don't want to, usually when you have this week off, there can be 30 selections before you actually get to the real one next week. So a bit of patience right now, recover this week, and we'll get into that next week.
Josh, we really appreciate your time on AFL Tonight. Good luck for the year ahead. It's going to be a massive one.
Thanks, Drew.
All right, Josh Carr with us on AFL Tonight, and AFL 360 is coming up shortly on Fox Footy. Jared Waitley and Gary Lyon will be joined by Andrew Dillon, Adam Simpson and John Longmire. That's from 6:30 Eastern tonight, and plenty more to come on AFL Tonight. Stay with us.
Pleading his case like the balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet. And the mark has been taken by umpire Carey. Carey by nature. It's a main event in any stadium in the world. Super Rio Wilson, like a cork in the ocean over his head. Oh my word! They say it's easy to run downhill. Tell that to McIntosh. Siren's gone. They've done it again. They've done it again, the Cats.
The best of Dennis, the football world, devastated today as we farewell Dennis Cometti, one of the finest commentators in the history of our great game. We pass on our condolences to the Cometti family and Dennis's loved ones on a very sad day. Welcome back to AFL Tonight. I'm Drew Jones. It's great to have your company. It's time to welcome our Wednesday regular, Premiership defender Will Schofield. Will, great to have you back on board for 2026. Now, what are you looking forward to most in season 2026?
Yeah, g'day Drew, good to be with you, mate. Look, I'm hopefully looking forward to some more competitive performances here in the West Coast. Didn't put their greatest foot forward on the weekend against Port Adelaide, but we know Fremantle, where their list is at, where their growth is at. I think I'm really looking forward to them competing for a premiership this year. I'm really strong on them. And, overall, I think the competition over the last few years, there's not many teams coming into it as, well, they're the out-and-out favourites and, no one's going to beat them. So I think we're exactly where the AFL wants us to be. And that's a really competitive, competition that, can anyone win it? Probably not. West Coast probably not going to win the premiership this year. But I do think any given week and any given team, most sides should be competitive. And that's exactly where we want to be as a competition, but more importantly as fans. So yeah, I'm excited for that, Drew. And good to be back for another season of footy.
And we're also excited that the beard is back, as we can see on AFL Tonight. So the season opener features a tasty grudge match between Charlie Curnow and the Blues. Hard not to be excited about a star forward playing for the Swans. What do you think Charlie and the Swans can achieve this year?
Well, we can't refer to him as Buddy Franklin, but he's got every element of it. He's on the big contract and he's come over from another side and he's going to be the man, Charlie Curnow. And I'm really excited. He's a Geelong boy, Geelong College boy even, and just excited to see him in a side which clearly, they've gone and traded to get him there for one reason. That's for him to, I think, win the Coleman. They're going to make him the main focus point. They've got ancillary targets around him, but Charlie Curnow's the man in Sydney, and I reckon he loves it too. By the looks of him, his rig's in good nick, and he's demanding the footy. So I know Dean doesn't want us to compare him to Buddy Franklin, but I mean, that's what he is. I mean, it's fine. He's one of the best forwards in the game, and they've gone and got him from another football club. That's what Buddy Franklin happened a number of years ago, and looking forward to Charlie doing the same.
Sticking with opening night, the hype around Jagger Smith has been quite extraordinary for someone who hasn't played an AFL game yet. Can the young man live up to these lofty expectations?
He certainly can live up to them. We've seen a number one draft pick over here in the West. Probably, I think, unfair heat and expectation. Now, we expect him to, move, fast and nicely, and to go well.
All right, I'm just checking, but I think we're not going to be able to get back to him from an audio perspective. Unfortunately, there are a couple of gremlins with Will tonight, so we apologise for that. But he'll be back next week, bigger and better than ever with that beard. All right, Gold Coast coach Damien Hardwick has urged onlookers to be patient with Jamari Ugle-Hagan as he prepares to play for his second club. Ugle-Hagan joined the Suns during last year's trade period after a turbulent end to his 5 seasons at the Western Bulldogs, failing to play a senior game in 2025. Hardwick says he's excited for Ugle-Hagan's next chapter, but warns not to expect too much too soon.
Oh, it's just time. Once again, he's got the capacity to play. It's just is it the right thing for him to play this week as compared to maybe wait a week or two, just to get him some games under the belt, some match fitness, which is the one thing that is really, really hard to get. So he's done a lot of things right. We're really impressed by the way he's gone about it.
Suns host the Cats on Friday night at People's First Stadium, but there's been some mystery over the side Chris Scott will field, with Patrick Dangerfield, one of several players, under an injury cloud. Hardwick says he's ready for anything when it comes to team selection.
You know, Geelong are obviously notorious. Scotty will have a couple of things. He's probably named a player that wasn't even on their list last year in the side, and then we'll withdraw him late. But look, that's how they go about it. They've got a number of guys like that sort of thing, but we're probably a little bit the same. So this time early in the year, it's probably just more worried about what we can control and how we can operate, and we'll go from there.
Brownlow medalist Matty Rowell trains away from the main group as he recovers from a broken finger with a very large cast. He isn't expected back until round 4 after the club's early season bye. The Giants will begin their season on Saturday against Hawthorn, missing several key players, but captain Toby Green is warning against writing his side off. He spoke with our very own David Zeta.
We want to, try and finish top 4, give yourself a chance. That's a good way to start. But then there's not a whole lot we want to tinker with the game plan or in regards to that. We've got a couple of new players that you'll see open, in the opening rounds, and with a few injuries as well. Some guys given chances. So as a group, we got to, as an older player as well, we've got to maintain a level, and then the younger boys coming through, we've got to continue to get better and develop, and that's part of my job. So. There's a combination of different things, and then, really nailing those big moments as well when they come is something that we want to work on.
How important will Clayton Oliver be? How important is he already since coming into the club over the off-season?
Yeah, it's a great addition and someone we're going to need this year. His inside work, inside stoppage is as good as I've seen, and he's been, really good to sort of learn and play against in training, and looking forward to playing with him.
Is he playing with a bit of it seems like he may have a bit of a fire to try and just get back to his best and prove maybe Melbourne and other people wrong who thought that his best is past him. Do you sense that from speaking with him?
Yeah, I think you'll see it when he plays as well. He's playing, he plays a little bit nasty and with a good amount of aggression. And then, as I said, his stoppage work's been at a level that not many could match for a long time. So we're looking forward to seeing what he brings.
And if you had to talk about the injury toll that's already happened for you guys this pre-season, how much has that been addressed internally, having to try and rally the troops given the injuries you've sustained before the first ball's even been thrown up?
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but you can't shy away from it. It'll give opportunity to guys that maybe you wouldn't have seen earlier in the year, so that's exciting. And then you've got to, you're flat for a couple of days, but then you've got to bring the energy, you've got to bring it back up and really build up to opening round. And we've got some tough games early as well. So, we're looking forward to the challenge, and, a few people are, already writing us off. So it's a good little motivator.
Just last one, I know you're probably not used to these contract calls because you had a pretty big contract, but it's the last year of your current deal. Do you want to finish things off back in Victoria, or do you want to finish your career as a Giant and keep playing there until the end?
No, I'd love to finish my career at the Giants. To be honest, it's not something I haven't thought too much at all really about yet. But I think I've got a few more years of good footy left in me, and that's the plan anyway. So I'm sure that'll start to work its way out in the next few months. But no, I've loved my time at the Giants. I'd love to finish my career there.
All right, thanks for joining us on AFL Tonight. Make sure you stay across all the latest on Fox Sports News. And on Fox Footy, it's time for AFL 360. Have a great night.